Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. On this video, I will be making a couple of fleece jackets for toddlers. As I'm filming this, it is mid-September. We've been past fake fall. The temperatures are high 70s right now. I think it's going to get a bit hotter for the next week or so, and then before we know it, it's going to be winter. And so I am making a jacket for my son and one for my niece. Both my son and niece are almost 3 years old. They'll be 3 in a few weeks, which is lucky for me because I only need to cut out one size, which I've already done. I'm using this pattern called Dumbbell Stand Collar Zip-Up Jacket, I think, by Sewing Elegy Patterns. I'm not sure exactly how to say their name, but I follow them on Instagram and they have really cute patterns for kids. I've tried one other pattern from them and it worked really well. So I'm looking forward to this one. But yeah, they have a few adult patterns as well, but most of their patterns are for kids, and they have accessories like bags and hats and things like that. So this pattern I really liked. I liked the shape of the jacket. It's a zip up, which is great for toddlers. And I like the stand collar. It's fully lined, and I think they have 2 different pocket options. You could do like a welt pocket, or what's it called, like a patch pocket. So yeah, for my son I will be using these 2 fabrics. These are from Joann when they were still in business. I made myself a jacket with this blue fabric, and then one for my husband with this navy one, and I have a bunch of fabric left. So I wanted to try to make a 2-toned jacket for my son. And then I found this lining fabric at a thrift store near where I live. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Probably a polyester, but it's slippery, it's soft, and it'll just make it easier to put the jacket on and off. And then for my niece, I will use this cute lemon print fabric, which is also from Joann and leftover from when I made myself a jacket last year. I think this bright color will look really good on her. For this one though, I do want to modify the pattern a little bit. Instead of a full zip up, I want to make it like a half zip up and then put one of those pockets that you see in hoodies. I don't know what it's called. I did try to make this jacket for her using another pattern, and it was a total fail. Nothing wrong with that pattern. It's just that pattern called for a knit fabric, and I went ahead and tried to use a fleece fabric, and I used a fleece fabric for the outer main fabric as well as the lining. So when I went to try it on my son, he couldn't even put his arm in because yeah, it was a fail. So I just went ahead and got this pattern, which is actually meant for fleece fabric. So if you're interested, I will link that other pattern below. It's a free pattern called Lowland Hoodie, I think, and it looks really cute. It's a hooded pullover kind of style jacket, and I do want to try it out if I can find right knit fabric, but if you want to try it out, I will link it down below. So back to this fabric, I am just going to cut out the pieces and start sewing. pieces together. So what I did was I just picked a spot just slightly above where the pocket will be. That's about an inch, and then added 1/2 inch of seam allowance on both top and bottom piece and cut out the pattern, and then I just sewed that seam allowance to make it, you know, one piece. So here's the front and there is the back piece, and I've just followed the instructions, and it says to interface, you know, where the zipper will be and the back side of the pocket, as well as the sides of the collar, because I think the zipper will go all the way to the top, and also these welts. So I'm going to work on the welt pockets now, and I've decided to use this color for the welt. I think it will look nice just to draw that color down. Yeah, so I'll be working on that today. Last night I spent almost 2 hours working on this little patch pocket. It's not in the pattern, but I just thought it would be cute to add to the top here, like that. Yeah, it just took a long time because I'm not sure what this blue fabric is, but it does not press at all. So it took me a while to get this hole prepped for the zipper. And then this one is like a waterproof windbreaker kind of fabric, and it's got a Velcro attachment to it. And this one also does not like to be pressed, so it just took me a while to get this all ready. So I'm just going to attach this to the top here. I thought it would be cute. It's on. What do we think? Hi guys, it's a few days later and I'm at a point where I need to attach the zipper now. I added this little patch pocket, which I think came out really cute, and I've also added the lining. It's just attached to the collar right now, but once I add the zipper, it's gonna finish the edges nicely. So I just need to pick the color of zipper that I want to go here. I have these nylon coil zippers that I got from Amazon in bulk. It comes in all these different colors and you just need to cut it to size. And it also comes with a bunch of these zipper pulls with matching colors. I think this one, it's navy blue. It matches pretty well with the bottom half, so I think that's what I'm going with. Okay, so that was clearly dumb because I was happily sewing on a closed zipper on the jacket when what I needed was a separating zipper, so you know you can actually open and close your jacket. So I didn't realize it until I had sewn on the zipper on one side. And good thing my son woke up from his nap at that moment, because I would have happily gone on to sew the other side as well. So I took some time yesterday to take the zipper off the side, and I managed to go to Hobby Lobby and get the right zipper. Unfortunately, they only had the 26-inch size, and what I need is an 18-inch. So I will just have to cut the top off, I think. Hopefully it'll still work. So let's put on the right thing. So I've hit a little bit of a snag here, and I don't know what to do. So I was getting ready to attach the lining to the zipper, but I've just realized that the lining is a bit too short. It's supposed to be short because you're supposed to finish the hem, like fold it over a centimeter and then fold it over and then sew here to create a channel for an elastic. And this is supposed to catch the lining, you know, when you have it right side out. But it's short by about half an inch or so. So it's not gonna catch that to have a clean edge. I don't know what to do. Yeah, let me have a think about it, and then I'll share what I end up doing. Hi everyone. So here's the first jacket all finished, and there's the back. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out, although it is a little too, actually it's a lot bigger on my son. I chose the size 3 to 4 years old because both my son and my niece are 3 years old, so I figured even if it's a little too big, it's a jacket, so it would be okay. But turns out it is a lot bigger. So I did end up printing one size smaller, which is 2 to 3 years old, for the one that I'm making for my niece. So with this one, I stuck pretty close to the pattern, other than I made it two-toned. And I also added this little patch pocket, and I'm kind of proud of this one because all the fabrics that I used I already had in my stash from other projects, so that was a good way of using up some of the fabrics that I had. So a few things that went wrong with this one was the zipper. I couldn't find the right size because obviously we don't have Joann's anymore, so I had to go to Hobby Lobby and they had a very limited selection of zippers. I think I needed an 18-inch zipper, but they only had 24 or 26-inch zippers, so I had to cut the zipper on the top here to make it fit. So I added this little zipper guard thing so it wouldn't poke my son in the chin if he decided to pull the zipper all the way. So that worked out. And the other thing was the lining. So the pattern calls for the lining to be a little bit shorter than the main fabric, so that when you turn the main fabric to create this casing for the elastic, it's supposed to catch the lining to finish it neatly. But for some reason, for me, the lining was too short. So, you know, instead of trying to cut another lining, what I did was I cut a strip of fabric that was about 2 inches wide and the length of the whole jacket, and I just sewed it at the bottom here. So that gave me the length that I needed, and it's on the inside, so it's not that visible. So that worked out okay. But I think other than those two things, it was pretty easy to make this jacket. The pattern itself, I think it's pretty well made, but I found the instructions were a little too vague at some points. So I feel like you do need a little bit of a sewing experience to understand what the pattern is saying. On things like the worked pockets, I found the instructions were not super clear. So I do feel like if you're a beginner, you may want to watch a few YouTube videos to figure out how that's done. But other than that, I think it worked really well. I just need to wait for next winter maybe for my son to actually wear this. So for the next jacket, which will be for my niece, I want it to be a quarter zip pullover style instead of the full zipper one, and I am going to use the same pattern with just some minor modifications. I've kind of already started working on it, but the modification is really simple. It's just on the front piece. So instead of cutting the front in two pieces, I just cut it on fold where the neckline is. And so I've sewn the shoulder seam and the collar, and I've just made a little slit in the center front to be able to sew the collar on. And now I will measure the zipper and figure out how long I want the opening to be. Here we are. I'm just trying to find the center point of the collar. So our zipper will go all the way up to the top, which means so that's the end of our zipper. And let's see how wide this is. Maybe I'll put 1/2 inch. So that when I cut it's always kind of nerve-wracking to cut this, but it'll be fine. Okay, so now our zipper needs to go, so that's the front. So I need to sew it like this. finished both the jackets and I am very happy with how they've turned out. And I'm also very happy that I was able to get two different looks from one pattern because, as you know, buying patterns can add up really quickly. So a little bit about the process and the pattern that I used. I used the dumbbell stand collar pattern. The pattern is rated as intermediate, which I would agree given the zipper and the welt pockets and all that were easy to follow for the most part, but there were a few sections that were not super clear. But they do have a video tutorial which is very helpful. I've already talked a little bit about this one, so I won't go into that again. But after I made this version, I did learn a lot of things that I was able to apply to this second one. So first of all, the sizing on this one, I made this on a size 3 to 4 years old, and this turned out way too big on my 3-year-old son. And also the lining on this one was too short, so I had to cut out a little extra fabric to add on to it. So when I made this version, I made it a size 2 to 3 years old, and I also cut the lining the same length as the outer fabric. I figured, if it was too long, I would just cut it, but it turned out okay, and it's perfectly encased in the hem over here, so that worked out. Also for this one, I made a quarter zip version, which is also lined. So to do that, all I did was, instead of cutting the front panel in 2 pieces, I just cut it on a fold. So the pattern also comes with a patch pocket, and I cut that piece on a fold as well to create this big pullover style pocket. So just to show you what it looks on the inside, I love lined garment. It makes the finishing on the inside look so neat. So yeah, it looks pretty neat on the inside. And this is the pullover version. It's also finished very neatly. So the only thing with this one is, ideally I would have liked to attach the patch pocket before the lining so you wouldn't be able to see this stitch line from the inside, but I kind of forgot. I only remembered when I was done with the hem, and this lining fabric frays pretty easily, so I did not want to rip the stitches and deal with that. So I just went with it, and it's on the inside, so it's okay. So yeah, I am very happy to have created 2 versions of this jacket from one pattern, and I hope it inspires you to experiment with the patterns that you already have as well. And it doesn't have to be super complicated. As you saw from mine, all I did was cut 1 of the or 2 of the pieces on the fold, and I have a different design. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. So let me know in the comments what you thought of the 2 jackets that I made and what projects you're working on. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, and if you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Bye. Is it too big?